Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag live if you're watching live. Hashtag replay if you're on replay. So, put up this post last night because this came from a conversation I had with a client about fitness myths that just need to RIP, rest in peace, die, because it causes so much confusion in individuals that they dictate how they eat, how they work out, how they sleep, how they perform, etc., and more importantly, how they perpetuate these thoughts into their daily life and in daily vernacular. And you'll see this a lot in articles, you'll see it in social media posts, you'll see it all over the place. So I wanted to dispel one of those very important myths today, but it's not as simple as it just seems, because life is life and things are difficult and more in-depth than meets the eye, per se. So I want to kind of dive into this today, and when I put it up, I put that, people are under the assumption that lifting weights burns more calories than cardio. And what I meant by that, I meant it in the context of the event itself. We'll get into the post-workout bout here in a second, but from a sheer fact of just comparing doing 30 minutes on the treadmill, 30 minutes on the elliptical, 30 minutes on a cardio piece or outside running versus strict lifting weights, meaning, as you can imagine in your mind, doing chest, back, squats, deadlifts, bicep curls, etc. A combination of all of that. In the bout of exercise itself, cardio is going to burn more calories than lifting weights. I'm going to explain why that is here in a second, but it's important to remember that this is not just you work out and that's it kind of a deal, okay? So sometimes we take it from the standpoint of we work out, we burn X amount of calories, and that's it. You're burning calories all day, including when you sleep. So it's important to remember that your body is constantly burning calories, because think of it like putting gas in your car. In order for your car to run, in order for it to do all the functions that it needs to do to run and be able to get you from point A to point Z, it needs gasoline, right? The same thing is a requirement of our body. Our bodies need energy in order to perform. All the physiological processes that happen from the function of our brain to the function of our kidneys, our liver, all of our organs, our muscles, etc. requires energy. So in order for that to happen, it has to burn energy. So let's dive into this. So if you were to just look at it from just a sheer event, cardio, if you were a 155-pound person jogging at 5 miles an hour, per se, for 30 minutes, you burn roughly 298 calories. Okay? It's a rough estimate, but that's the number we're going to use. Let's also use that in relation to lifting weights. So again, this is your traditional weight training. This is not a combination of all of this like an Orange Theory workout where there's cardio and there's weights. Okay? Take that out of the context. We're going to put that to the side, touch on that later. 155-pound person lifting weights is going to burn 112 calories. Now it's important to realize that this 155-pound person for 30 minutes is burning 112 calories. A 240-pound person is burning 133 calories. Okay, I put that on there because it's important to realize that when you're lifting weights, you're exerting energy during a bench press for 15, 20 reps, and then what do? You then sit them down and you rest, okay? So again, this is your traditional weight training session. And even sessions that I may have one-on-one with clients, I'm gonna make them do, 2 or 3 or 4 exercises back to back. There's still rest periods in there. So the amount that we're actually exerting energy, which means our heart rate is getting to a certain point and then it's coming back down, we oftentimes overestimate the amount of energy that we're actually burning. So in a traditional weight training sense of an hour, you're probably only exerting anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes of total your body's under this resistance, so then your heart rate has to exceed. Then it comes back down. That's the reason why you don't burn as many calories, because your heart rate goes up, it comes back down. In a cardiovascular standpoint, it gets to a certain point, stays there for the entire duration. There is no start and stop, unless you're doing some type of interval training, which is a whole nother complication to this equation, okay? But if we're just talking about it from the sheer cardiovascular exercise, treadmill, elliptical, bike, etc., weight training, lifting weights, chest, back, arms, legs, etc., this is the differences in the amount of calories that you burn, dictated based on how high your heart rate gets. When you lift weights, your heart rate gets super high, and then it comes back down, because you can't maintain that max heart rate for very long, because your body's just not built for that. So, this is during the event itself. Now, what becomes even more complicated for people to understand is it's not just about what happens in this 30 minutes of exercise. It's important to note what happens post, okay? And that's where lifting weights is superior to doing cardio. Now, I'm not here to say one is better than the other. They both have their place, and we need to do both, because we need to keep our heart healthy, okay? I've come down on my whole stance and cardio's bullshit thing. It has its place. I wouldn't traditionally rely on it 100%, okay? Lifting weights, to me, is far superior for a lot of different reasons. That's another video. If you want to hear more about that, I can do another one, okay? But when I'm coaching people or I'm training people, this is at the center, okay? But this also has its place. Now, let's get into what happens after. So, if I was to do a traditional cardio training session, about 30 minutes after, okay, so from 0 to 30, when that event is over, my metabolism is elevated, okay? I'm burning calories because my heart rate has to come down. So I've got to consume more oxygen so that my body can burn that energy to replace what I've just burned, okay? So for only 30 minutes. Weight training is up to 48 hours, okay? So, imagine you're sitting at the computer, you're sitting at on your couch watching TV. On average, you're going to burn 60 calories in an hour, okay? We're just going to throw that number out there. After you've lifted weights, you're going to take that from 60 to now 70. Now, you compound that over 40 to 48 hours, you do that math, you're burning an extra 10 calories per hour over the course of a day. That's 240 calories. You do that over the course of a week, you do that over the course of a month, you've got compound interest. There you go, okay? So, during the event itself, cardio burns more calories. During the course of an extra 40 to 48 hours, you're going to see that number kind of be different in different research articles. For just the use of this video, we're just going to say 48 hours, 2 days, weight training, okay? So, I want to make sure that this is super, super clear. The physiology is based on the heart rate. Here, your heart rate gets to a certain point, it levels off, okay? So that's why you can burn more calories during cardio. It's not, your heart rate's not jacking up and then coming back down. That's what happens when you lift weights, because during that bench press, your heart rate has to get up because you're exerting so much energy. 15 reps is over, it comes back down. So it's up, down, up, down. Cardio, gets to a certain point, levels off. That's the reason why cardio burns more calories during the event itself than weight training. When you start combining the two, that's where you start getting into, HIIT training and, circuit training and all this other stuff that you can kind of play around with how many calories that you can burn in a traditional sense. But weight training builds more muscle over the course of time. You build muscle, your metabolism goes up, you burn more calories. Okay? So, drop the questions in the comment section if you've got questions on this. But this is how this process works. I broke this down to just not trying to use very, heavy physiological terms. Just try to lay it out there as it is, and this is why that happens. Hashtag value, if you found value in this video. Buff Gandhi. Woo!